You're walking through life believing you're safe. You're convinced that the spaces you occupy daily, the people you trust most, the environments that feel familiar, are actually protecting you. But what if I told you that right now, in this very moment, you're standing in the center of an invisible execution chamber? What if the hands you shake, the tables you sit at, the voices that whisper, "I understand," are the very instruments systematically dismantling everything you could become? Listen closely, because what I'm about to reveal will make you question every relationship, every room, every conversation you've considered harmless. The architects of your destruction don't announce themselves. They don't arrive with weapons drawn. They arrive with smiles, with familiarity, with the seductive promise of belonging. And while you're basking in that warmth, they're quietly extracting your power, drop by drop, until you wake up one day wondering why you feel so hollow, despite being surrounded by so many people. Most men never escape. They die socially, psychologically, spiritually, decades before their body follows. They spend their entire existence trapped inside psychological environments designed to keep them compliant, comfortable, and completely neutralized. The tragedy isn't that they fail. The tragedy is that they never realized they were imprisoned in the first place. Before we go deeper into this revelation, I need you to understand something critical. If what I'm showing you resonates, if you feel that uncomfortable recognition spreading through your chest right now, don't let this moment vanish into the algorithm. Hit that subscribe button, not as a favor to me, but as a declaration to yourself that you refuse to remain blind. This channel exists for men who are done being harvested. Every video is a key to a different lock in your psychological prison. Subscribe now, because the men who hesitate are the ones who stay trapped. The human psyche has a fatal flaw. It conflates comfort with safety. Your nervous system cannot distinguish between a warm environment that nurtures growth and a warm environment that slowly suffocates ambition. Both feel pleasant. Both provide immediate relief from discomfort. But one builds kings while the other builds corpses with beating hearts. Think about the last time you felt truly heard. Someone listened to your struggles, nodded with understanding, offered sympathy that felt like medicine. You walked away feeling lighter, validated, seen. That sensation you experienced wasn't healing. It was sedation. You traded your internal pressure, the very force that drives transformation, for temporary emotional relief. And in that exchange, everyone present learned something crucial about you. They learned your breaking point. They learned your weakness. They cataloged exactly how to keep you manageable. This is the first invisible prison, and it's the most insidious because it masquerades as connection. These are the spaces where collective suffering becomes the foundation of friendship. The group conversations where everyone competes to prove whose life is harder. The recurring meetings where the primary activity is listing obstacles rather than strategizing solutions. The relationships built entirely on shared disappointment with the world. You believe these environments provide support. They don't. They provide permission. Permission to remain stagnant. Permission to avoid the brutal self-examination required for transformation. Permission to blame external forces for internal failures. Every minute you spend in these spaces, your brain is being rewired. You're training your nervous system to seek validation for your struggles rather than victories over them. You're learning that being understood is more valuable than being unstoppable. The people in these circles don't want you to change. Your transformation would shatter the unspoken agreement that binds the group together. The agreement that says we're all victims of circumstances beyond our control. The agreement that protects everyone from confronting their own agency. If you suddenly broke free, started winning, started becoming the man you claim you want to be, you would become a living contradiction to the group's shared narrative. You would become evidence that change is possible, which means their stagnation is a choice. They can't allow that. So they will subtly, unconsciously, systematically reinforce your limitations every time you show signs of breaking free. Pay attention to what happens when you share a goal in these environments. Notice the subtle discouragement disguised as realism. Notice how quickly the conversation shifts from your vision to all the reasons it won't work. Notice how they frame their doubt as protection, as if they're saving you from inevitable disappointment. They're not protecting you from failure. They're protecting themselves from your success. This environment doesn't just stall your progress. It corrupts your self-perception. You begin to derive identity from your wounds rather than your potential. You become the guy who's been through tough times, the guy who understands struggle, the guy everyone comes to when they need to feel better about their own failures. This identity feels profound. It feels authentic, but it's a cage made of emotional honey, and you're drowning in sweetness while calling it depth. Real power is built in silence, in isolation, in the uncomfortable space between who you are and who you're becoming. But you can't access that space when you're constantly leaking your internal state to an audience that rewards vulnerability with temporary comfort. Every time you open up about your struggles, you're externalizing the tension that should be driving you forward. You're releasing the pressure before it can transform you. The currency in these spaces isn't respect, it's pity. And pity is the most worthless form of social capital because it positions you permanently beneath the person offering it. They feel good giving it. You feel good receiving it. But nothing changes. Nothing moves. Nothing grows. It's a closed loop of mutual stagnation disguised as human connection. Now let's say you recognize this trap. Let's say you pull yourself out of these comfort circles. You're determined to level up, to surround yourself with power, to finally access rooms where real decisions are made. So you push, you network, you hustle your way into spaces you previously only observed from a distance. And then one day it happens. You're invited to sit at a table with people who intimidate you. People whose success makes your achievements look like practice runs. This is where the second invisible prison reveals itself. And it's far more sophisticated than the first because it doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like a rival. You're finally in proximity to real power. You're breathing the same air as people who move markets, shape narratives, control resources. They're polite to you. They laugh at your contributions. They ask your opinion on matters that seem significant. You feel a rush of validation that's different from the pity circle. This isn't about being understood. This is about being acknowledged by people who matter. But here's what you're missing. Proximity to power is not possession of power. Being in the room is not the same as owning the room. And the moment you confuse the two, you've entered a psychological trap that will drain your ambition more effectively than any comfort circle ever could. These people don't see you as a peer. They see you as an audience. Your presence validates their status. Your deference confirms their dominance. They enjoy having you there because you make them feel benevolent, like they're generous enough to include someone who's still climbing. But watch what happens when actual decisions need to be made. Watch how quickly you're excluded from the real conversations. Watch how your input is acknowledged but never implemented. You're not being groomed for leadership here. You're being domesticated into admiration. You're learning to be comfortable as a spectator in spaces where you should be competing. The danger is that this environment kills your hunger while feeding your ego. You start adopting their mannerisms, their language, their social codes. You start feeling like you've made it because you're adjacent to people who actually have. But your bank account hasn't moved. Your influence hasn't expanded. Your ability to create independent leverage hasn't developed. You've simply become a well-dressed, well-connected person with no actual power of your own. This is how men become professional networkers who never build anything. They're so busy maintaining access to rooms that they never develop the resources to create their own rooms. They become parasites of prestige, feeding off reflected status while their own foundation remains empty. But there's an even more seductive variation of this trap, and it's the one that destroys more potential than any other, because it doesn't just stall your growth. It convinces you that you've already arrived. This is the environment where you're not the admiring spectator. You're the celebrated king. But the kingdom is so small that your reign means nothing. You're the most successful person among your friends from school. You're the one everyone asks for advice. You're the benchmark against which everyone else measures their progress. And it feels magnificent. You look around and see admiration in every direction. People seek your approval. They celebrate your wins. They position you as the standard of achievement. This validation is psychological poison. When everyone around you is beneath your current level, you lose all pressure to evolve. There's no one challenging you, no one exposing your weaknesses, no one demonstrating what the next level actually looks like. You're winning a game with such low stakes that victory is meaningless. But because you're winning, you don't realize how much you're losing. We're about to expose something that will fundamentally change how you view your past. But before we continue, I need those of you who are truly ready to step out of these invisible prisons to take action right now. Drop a like on this video if you've recognized yourself in these patterns. That simple action is more than engagement. It's a psychological commitment to yourself that you're done being comfortable in spaces that keep you small. Do it now, because the men who don't are the ones who'll close this video and walk right back into the same traps tomorrow. The spaces we've discussed so far operate on either your need for comfort or your need for validation. But there's a category of psychological prison that operates on something far more powerful: your attachment to the past. Specifically, your inability to acknowledge that certain investments of time, energy, emotion, and resources have yielded zero return and never will. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That relationship that stopped serving you years ago, but you can't leave because of how much you've already invested. That business partnership that's draining resources, but you can't walk away because you've already sacrificed so much. That friend group that takes everything and gives nothing but you stay, because leaving would mean admitting the last decade was wasted. This is the mathematics of self-destruction. You're calculating the cost of leaving based on what you've already lost, rather than what you'll continue to lose by staying. And that calculation error will cost you everything. The time you've already spent is gone. It's dead currency. It has zero value in determining your next move. The only question that matters is whether the next hour, the next day, the next year in this environment will generate a return. If the answer is no, staying isn't loyalty. It's cowardice dressed up as commitment. Every hour you remain in an environment you know is draining you. You're not fighting for something. You're mourning what you wish it could have been. You're in a relationship with a ghost, trying to resurrect something that's been decomposing for years. And while you're playing necromancer, the life you could be building is dying of neglect. The psychological mechanism here is devastating. You can't admit the past was a mistake because your ego has made that past a part of your identity. Walking away would require you to acknowledge that you were wrong, that you wasted years, that you misjudged people and situations. So instead of accepting that temporary ego death, you choose permanent stagnation. You keep feeding a corpse, hoping it will somehow come back to life, while opportunities that could actually transform your existence pass you by. Power requires the capacity to be ruthless with your own history. You must be able to look at 5 years of investment and say that chapter is closed with no regret, no backward glances, no sentimental attachment to what could have been. If you can't make that cut, your past will always control your future. You'll be chained to decisions made by a weaker, more ignorant version of yourself, bound by commitments that no longer serve the man you're becoming. But let's say you develop that capacity. Let's say you learn to cut losses without hesitation. There's still one more invisible prison waiting for you, and this one is built from your own desire to be seen as successful. This is the environment where your entire social position depends on performing a lifestyle you haven't actually earned. You know these spaces. They're the social circles that require specific brands, specific experiences, specific displays of wealth just to maintain membership. You're buying cars you can't afford to park in the right driveways. You're wearing watches that cost more than your actual liquid capital. You're attending events that drain your resources while adding zero to your actual power base. And you do it all because you're terrified of being exposed as someone who doesn't actually belong. This isn't strategy. This is slavery with designer accessories. You've become so invested in maintaining an image that you've sacrificed the substance required to make that image real. You're trading your future freedom for present appearance. You're spending money you should be using to build actual leverage on props that make you look like you already have leverage. And the people in these environments know it. They can smell the desperation underneath the cologne. They recognize the performance because they're performing too. The psychological pressure here is immense. You can't be honest about your actual situation because that would shatter the illusion. You can't take the risks required to build real wealth because you're too over-leveraged maintaining the appearance of wealth. You're trapped in a cycle of defensive performance, spending every resource on maintaining a facade while your actual foundation crumbles. Real power lives in simplicity below your means while you build capacity above your current level. It lives in having resources no one knows about rather than displaying resources you don't have. But you can't access that power when you're addicted to the validation that comes from external displays of success. You've confused the shadow of power with power itself, and that confusion will keep you permanently broke while looking temporarily successful. Now we arrive at perhaps the most subtle prison of all. This is the space where you're not taking a side. You're trying to remain neutral during conflicts. You're attempting to keep everyone happy, to maintain access to all circles, to never commit to a position that might alienate someone. You think this makes you diplomatic, strategic, wise? It doesn't. It makes you invisible. In any power dynamic, neutrality is a losing position. When you refuse to commit, you lose the respect of everyone involved. The winners don't trust you because you didn't support them when it mattered. The losers resent you because you didn't stand with them when they needed it. You end up with no real allies and a reputation as someone who can't be counted on when pressure arrives. This environment feels safe because you're not fighting anyone, but you're also not building anything. You're a ghost moving through other people's conflicts, trying to extract value without investing loyalty. And eventually, everyone realizes that you're a taker without the courage to be a player. You get bypassed for real opportunities because no one knows what you actually stand for. If they don't know what you stand for, they can't rely on you. And if they can't rely on you, you have no value in their world. To build genuine power, you must be willing to be polarizing. You must be capable of making enemies by standing for something rather than being vaguely liked by everyone while being taken seriously by no one. The neutral zone isn't safety, it's irrelevance with a pleasant atmosphere. We've exposed the social traps, the ego traps, the financial traps, the strategic traps. But there's one final prison, and it's the most emotionally charged, because it's built from your own history. This is the gravitational pull of your origin point, the people and places that knew you before you decided to become dangerous. Your hometown, metaphorically and literally, is a psychological anchor designed to keep you from ever fully transforming. These are the people who remember you as manageable, as predictable, as the version of yourself that fit comfortably into their understanding of the world. Family members who still treat you like a child. Old friends who bring up your past mistakes whenever you display too much confidence. People who use childhood nicknames specifically to remind you that they knew you before you had power. Their resistance to your evolution isn't conscious malice. It's psychological self-defense. Your transformation is evidence that change is possible, which means their stagnation is a choice. They need you to stay the person they remember because your growth indicts their lack of it. So they will constantly, subtly, systematically pull you back toward the identity you're trying to shed. You cannot wear a crown in a room full of people who remember you bowing. You cannot command respect from people whose fundamental image of you is based on your weakest moments. Every time you return to this environment, whether physically or digitally, you're stepping back into an identity that no longer serves you. And the longer you maintain those connections, the harder it becomes to fully inhabit your new self. The price of transformation is estrangement from everyone who benefited from your smaller self. You must be willing to become a stranger to those who cannot evolve with you. This doesn't mean cruelty. It means boundaries. It means understanding that some relationships were meant for a season of your life that has ended, and trying to drag them into your new season will only corrupt both. Most men never pay this price. They carry their hometown in their pocket, checking in with ghosts, seeking validation from people who have no frame of reference for who they're becoming. And that divided loyalty keeps them permanently stuck between two identities, never fully committing to either, which means never fully becoming anything. You now understand the architecture of your own stagnation. You see the invisible prisons you've been living in. You recognize the mechanisms that have been extracting your potential while you smiled and called it connection, opportunity, loyalty, or belonging. Understanding changes nothing. Action is everything. From this moment forward, every environment you enter must serve a specific purpose in your development. Either you're gaining tangible leverage, sharpening skills that increase your market value, or building relationships with people who operate at a level that forces you to evolve. If an environment provides none of these, you're not networking. You're being harvested. There is no neutral anymore. There's no casual hanging out. Every interaction is either feeding your power or draining it. Every conversation is either moving you towards sovereignty or reinforcing your domestication. You must develop the psychological capacity to walk into any room and instantly assess whether you're the predator or the prey. And if you're the prey, you walk out. No explanations, no apologies, no backward glances. This level of clarity requires brutality toward your own sentimentality. You will have to cut people who feel like family. You will have to abandon environments that feel like home. You will have to kill versions of yourself that others are still attached to. This will be uncomfortable. People will call you cold, changed, different. They're right. That's the point. The man you were couldn't access the life you want, so that man has to die. And everyone who loved that man has to lose him. For those of you who've stayed until this point, you've demonstrated something that 90% of people can't. You've demonstrated the capacity to sit with uncomfortable truth long enough to let it transform you. That capacity is rare, it's valuable, and it's the foundation of everything that comes next. If you're ready to go beyond what can be said publicly, if you recognize that surface-level awareness isn't enough and you need tactical protocols for building the empire these prisons have been preventing, then the membership exists for exactly that purpose. This is where we don't just identify traps. We construct the alternative. We build the systems, the mindsets, the daily practices that turn theoretical understanding into actual power. The men inside aren't consuming content. They're implementing strategy. The door is open, but only for those who understand that access to the right room is worth more than comfort in the wrong one. Every trap I've described exists because you valued something more than your own sovereignty. You valued comfort over growth. You valued validation over respect. You valued appearance over substance. You valued belonging over becoming. Those values created the prisons. New values will create your freedom. But values mean nothing without the courage to act on them, even when it costs you everything familiar. You're standing at a threshold right now. Behind you are all the warm, safe spaces that have kept you small. Ahead is the cold, unknown territory where transformation actually happens. Most men spend their entire lives at this threshold, understanding what needs to change but lacking the stomach to make the cut. Don't be most men. You've been shown where the tripwires are hidden. You know which rooms are killing you. The only question left is whether you have the courage to walk out while everyone you know is begging you to stay. The fire is burning. The choice is yours. Go build what they said was impossible. I'll see you on the other side.